fire. Then we find food. If we don't move and work now, we'll all freeze to death.
Somebody will find us.
They gotta know that plane went off the radar.
Nobody's gonna find us. Not here. We figure out what way is south and we start walking.
This will be one of those wild stories you tell at a party.
Listen, get up, get up.
Don't move. Stare right back at him. If we can get to that tree line, we can better defend ourselves.
Go! Hold on!
You gotta be kidding me.
We can climb down.
If we follow the river, we got a better chance of finding shelter. How are we gonna deal with this?
We take them on, one at a time.
Okay, we're now going to talk about the Joe Carnahan film, The Grey, which has to do with a bunch of oil rig workers who suffer a plane crash in the frozen north. You have to assume this should be a Canadian movie in a lot of ways. This feels like it's a very Canadian story. Over and above surviving this horrible plane crash and dealing with all the wounded and dead around them, a pack of wolves seems to have either felt the threat of the territory or saw an easy lunch and decide they're going to make a meal of it. And the surviving members of this group have to decide what they're going to do to try and survive. It's again a very simple premise, similar like we've seen in The Edge and other this before. Yeah. It's interesting. There was some outcry about this movie a little bit in its portrayal about the wolves, saying that wolves are not evil. They're not these evil creatures like that. But I have to say, I didn't not buy the wolves in this movie. As far as I'm concerned, a bloody, wounded human being walking across the tundra is an easy meal for a wolf. I totally buy them going after these guys. The macho standoffs that happen between them, I could say yay or nay about, but I do know that packs of wolves are very sort of alpha male oriented, and they do sort of, what do you call it, were they sort of displays of aggression or displays of territory or I am the big alpha here, don't fuck with me sort of behaviors. Yeah. So when watching the movie, I was sort of expecting the wolves to be like monstrous, like creatures. Yeah. But I actually thought that they were very realistically rendered and quite frightening. Yeah. And I would not agree that it was an unfair portrayal of wolves. Even in Saskatchewan with coyotes, if you've ever tried to, sleeping in a tent camping, listening to all these coyotes making the terrible chatter outside, it's horrifying. And I know I have family who have farms around here. The coyotes will try and lure the dogs off of the farm to go chase them in the fields, and they will rip them to pieces for fun. Yeah. And those are coyotes, which are like the baby version of these wolves who make their living in, the northern winter, the practical eternal winter that is the Canadian North. So, over and above trying to stay alive in this horrible climate, having to deal with these wolves, like the dramatic stakes are right away super high. They are. We sort of center ourselves with the Liam Neeson character, whose job it was to protect these workers while they were on the rigs, and takes it upon himself to continue doing that job in this scenario. And beyond that, we have our group of somewhat types, although I think fairly well rendered. There's the sort of belligerent, difficult guy who is making things worse at every step of the way. There's the sort of silent, bookish, peaceful guy who's, there's people who panic, and there's people who are followers, I gotta say, the production and the acting, solid all the way through this movie. And it's one of those movies that made me feel cold while I was watching it. I didn't feel like they were this was a shot on location movie. They weren't faking it. And I really respect that, as if it's a much more difficult feat of filmmaking, and it also gives the film a much more genuine feel than it otherwise would have had, and that some would argue maybe it deserves. So I'm a fan of The Grey. Although I might argue that it's not about man versus wolves. Or I think that this is basically man versus death. I think that this movie is about how people try to face the fact that there is a 100% mortality rate. And we know that. We all know that. But we go through our days, not worried about dying. And if you're put in a position where death is in front of you, how will that change you? What do you think of The Grey, girl?
I also really, really liked this movie. I thought, like you said, the acting, super solid throughout the whole entire thing. Visually, yes, the wolves were right on par, I thought. I did have a lot of issue. Like you said, it did cause a lot of controversy, including with the reintroduction of Alaskan wolves to Idaho.
Right.
There were like mass killings and people were like super freaked out after this movie, and there were like a lot of protesting and just a lot of bad press for wolves as a result of this movie. And there's a lot of really big natural behavior inconsistencies. Like, they're not revenge creatures.
Right.
You know, they're more likely to scavenge than they are to hunt because it expends less energy.
Easier meal. Go for the easy meals.
Absolutely. There was this point where the character Diaz was
the Cooper character.
The Cooper character. He was being fucked with, which they will do to try and identify weaknesses. But once they have their first kill, they're not going to continue to hunt the rest of the people because they are generally really shy creatures and will light, sound, anything like that, they will shy away from and they will run away from.
Yeah.
You know, they're not seek and destroy type creatures. They're just not.
I kind of feel like the movie covered that point pretty well for me because Liam Neeson sees in the distance a tree line and says, well, we're out in the middle of nowhere. If the wolves don't kill us, the elements will. We have to head for the tree lines.
Yeah.
And by making that decision, which makes sense, they were going closer to the wolves' den. They moved themselves towards where the wolves' base of operation was.
Which they did not know. And
they didn't know they were doing that, but that is another reason I think that the wolves continue to fuck with them. Because instead of fucking off and leaving, they came closer to home.
With the den thing and defending territory thing, absolutely. But wolves will also generally hunt out in the open. Mm-hmm. They will very rarely hunt in the forested area because they need the speed is what they need. So yeah, I did have some problems, and really the amount of backlash as a result of this movie towards wolves was just astounding. And
I can't really blame the movie though. I think that's people making a mountain out of them.
As
the
people
only,
do, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
The only time I remember sort of thinking, I don't know if I buy that. There's one scene you were talking about where Diaz is challenged. The wolves seem to think that Diaz is the alpha because he's always making the noise and fighting with Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
And so he says the alpha basically sent his second in command to test Diaz.
Yeah.
And he's specifically attacked. They kill the wolf and fucking decapitate it and throw the severed head back at the wolves. And that seems to be an instigating measure, right?
It does seem to
be. That was the one plot point where it's like, I don't know a lot about wolves, but that doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah.
But everything else being so good. And because, like I said at the beginning of the review, I don't think this movie's about wolves necessarily. I think this is about dealing with death, about facing it.
Yeah.
One of the characters in the movie, who is played by Dermot Mulroney, sort of the bespectacled, sort of the guy who seems like to play a stereotype, who seems too smart to be working on an oil rig.
Are you sure Dermot Mulroney? I thought the guy from The Walking Dead seemed like the really smart one to me. Whatever his name is.
We're going to do a lot of editing.
Henry.
He played Dallas Roberts.
Roberts.
But he was sort of like the Zen guy to me. He was very like sort of the peaceful dude. Hey guys, we got to work together. We got to get along.
Yeah.
Dermot Mulroney's character has this speech where he says, you know, we survived this crash, so it means something.
Yeah.
You know? But it doesn't. You know, not necessarily. Yeah. They were dead in a lot of ways the second that the plane went down.
It's like if it's your time, it's your time.
His putting the import on the fact that they survived, you know, was his putting the importance on it, you know. But you know, if the wolves see the opportunity, you know, he's out of the game, and he takes a bad fall and is broken at the bottom of a tree, and the wolves take him.
Yeah.
His surviving the plane therefore didn't have meaning.
No, not at all.
Arguably.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson, his character, keeps on flashing back to this beautiful woman laying in bed trying to keep him calm and talking to him and telling him it's going to be okay. We imagine it while we're watching it, or at least I did, that this was his vision of what was waiting for him back home, trying to talk him through it, telling him not to be afraid.
Yeah.
We find out that this is his wife who has died, and that he was in fact suicidal. Of all the members of the group, you would think he would be the least willing to survive, since he was pretty much willing to blow his own head off earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
And yet he
There's a difference
seems to be
between
the most
choices,
driven
though.
to live.
Yeah.
Diaz, the Cooper asshole character, who was just, fuck you guys, everything you're doing wrong. If you want to live, you got to listen to me.
Yeah.
He's the guy who says, I quit, and
Yeah.
sits down
Yep.
and says, I quit. Because when given, when he convinces himself that no, he can't avoid death.
Yeah.
He's not going to fight it. He's not going to prolong it. He's practically welcome it.
Kind of makes sense, though. Most really angry, belligerent people, I'm pretty sure, are very unhappy in their lives.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But the bullet point for all of the characters that go through, the Zen fellow, he does nothing wrong. He does everything right every step of the way.
Yeah.
Gets his foot caught under a log and drowns.
Which was an excellent death scene.
Brutal, heartbreaking
Brutal.
moment. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that was the best death scene of the movie.
But again, nobody is spared. Because
No.
in the end, nobody is spared.
Yeah.
That's the brutal truth.
Very insightful, Larry Parsons.
It's how you choose to deal with that.
Yeah.
And most people choose to deal with that by not dealing with it. By
Yeah.
pretending that we're not going to die. We are immortal beings. And I'm not even talking about the soul going on and on, which is a totally different conversation.
Yeah.
I'm talking about most people don't face the fact that someday their body is not going to work and it's going to rot away into nothing.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you dwell on that, though, you see kind of the futility.
Mad. You'll go mad.
Yeah,
But at some point you have to face it.
Yeah, you do.
Everybody does. And I think not facing it your whole life is maybe not necessarily helpful.
No.
Sometimes you got to look at the dark corners,
Yeah.
and you got to be real.
Exactly.
I can see a lot of people watching a movie like The Grey and saying, what was the point of this? What was the point of this? Well, because in the end, spoilers, what happens?
Everybody dies.
Everybody dies. The
Yeah.
wolves win.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. But again, I don't think it's about wolves.
The wolves, the wilderness themselves. Or death against themselves, rather.
But they, I guess, if their lives have more significance or less than anyone who died on the plane, they were more in a position to choose how they were going to go out than anybody who was just in the plane and was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yep.
But I don't know. I felt a larger level of storytelling was going on in this movie than a lot of the movies we're talking about on this list.
I agree.
And the production values and the acting... Big points.
Yeah.
Big points. So if they fudged some of the wolf behavior, I'm going to give them a pass on that. And I will blame the media for making a mountain out of a molehill out of this movie. This is a movie.
It is a
movie.
movie.
It's a really good movie. I like it a lot. I would encourage people to watch it.
Me too.
But I tell you, when you come into it, this is it wasn't advertised as a horror movie, but this is a fucking horror movie.
It is.
It's scary, and it makes you think about stuff that
It does.
is hard.
Yeah, I agree.
Let the wolves be. We're not supposed to be there. They're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
If we're there and they eat us, that's kind of our fault for being there.
There you go.
Now, I might not feel that way while I'm being pulled apart by the wolves.
Sure.
And they didn't choose to come there. The plane fell out of the sky.
Yes.
But that's the way I see that. Evil intent or no, the wolves were being wolves.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, but again, the seek and destroy mentality of the wolves. Same with the bear in the Edge. They just wouldn't do that, I don't think.
I don't know so much about bears. I find it more believable in wolves than in bears. But who's to say?
Possibly.
I will not comment because I am not in the know.
I actually know a fair bit about wolves, so yeah, I don't know. It just made me angry. And not at the movie. The movie was great. I really have hardly anything bad to say about the movie aside from the hype.
Unfortunate repercussions.
Exactly. Exactly. Which, again, I agree was probably media and human stupidity.
People would argue same thing with Jaws, right?
Yeah.
When Jaws came out, people stopped going to the beaches.
Oh, exactly.
And people started just killing sharks on sight.
Exactly.
And getting high fives all around for it.
Yeah.
And killing the top predator in the ocean is having some negative repercussions to this day that you could maybe blame on Spielberg. But let's be real. It's not Spielberg's fault. It's ignorance.
It is.
We can blame ignorance.
Yes, for most things in life. We can blame ignorance, yeah.
See how rich this movie is? The conversation it has engendered? Unreal.
Perfect.